What's up, you guys? I feel like Brandon doesn't want to be in the video today. He's like, what's up, you guys? All right, gang. How are you? It's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. All right, so it is the beginning of July, which means it is a new season, in my opinion. We've got halfway through 2020, and we're loving it. Everyone is like, 2020 is the best year ever. No? Okay. Well, we still have 6 months to make it good. So what we want to give you guys today is a map. So we realize this is what we do with all of our clients, whether they're clients that step foot into the gym, whether they're clients that work with us one-on-one, whether they're clients that do our shift program. There's a map that we give everyone. And so we want to give you guys that today so that you can go into the next 6 months and really make it what you want it to be, not what you feel like is happening to you. Okay? So there's 4 steps for creating the best end of 2020 and forever, right? So first thing you got to do, and we're going to elaborate on these, but I'm going to give you the map, okay? So first thing you got to do is you got to know where you want to go, okay? Second thing is you got to know where you are. Third thing is you got to know what are the roadblocks that tend to get in your way and have gotten in your way before. And then the fourth thing is that what do you need to change or shift in your life so that you can go from where you are to where you want to go and go around those roadblocks, okay? So we're going to elaborate on the first one. So can you talk to us a little bit about vision and how we work with our clients on that?
Well, I think that's we have people enter through the door for a lot of different doors that we offer, but usually the number one question is simply, what is it that you want? And unfortunately, I would say, like, despite them walking through our door, no matter where it is, it's usually that catches them off guard. It's like, well, I don't even know what I want. And it's like, well, how are you entering through a door that you're not even sure where you want to go, right? Like, whether it be through our gym door, whether that be through our coaching business door, whatever it may be, is usually like, okay, well, what do you want? Well, I don't know. And so if we don't know that, how do we know the destination that we want to arrive at, right? And so really all we're talking about...
You can't create a map if you don't know where you're going.
Yes. Like, I mean, that's just, that's anywhere, right? Like, fortunately, we're lucky enough to have Google Maps and Siri and everything else nowadays.
Can I tell you a really funny story about myself? So I went to Ohio this weekend, you guys, and I really didn't realize where Ohio was on the map. Geography is not my jam. And I didn't realize how far north Ohio is. I don't know where I thought it was, but I didn't realize how far north it was. And then I was talking to some people, and they're like, yeah, I'm from New York. I just drove in. And I was like, you drove from New York? And I had to actually look at the map. So this is very important that you need to know where you're going so that you can know how to get there. So don't ask me geography questions because it's probably a bad idea. Okay. Anyway, go back.
But really, I mean, that's the starting point, right? Is knowing where you want to go and what is going to take in order to get there, right? Like, it's the same thing if I want to go to Mexico, but I start driving north. We're in Colorado, if you're watching that, sorry. I'm not going to get to Mexico no matter how hard I try. Like, I'm never going to get there because I'm going in the opposite direction, and I'm not going to be able to see the steps or the roads in order that I need to take in order to get there. I know this is all in metaphorical speaking, but it's the same thing in any endeavor that we want to move ourselves towards.
So what I think, we do something called a vivid vision. So it's getting really clear on what do you want your life to look like? Okay, so like, how much money do you want to be making? Where do you want to be living? How do you want to feel? What do you want to be doing for vacation? Who do you want to be contributing to? Who else's life is going to change? Like, get really clear on what you want your life to look like, what you want your life to feel like. So how do you want to feel, right? Like for us, when I went through my transformation, my big thing was like, I wanted to get out of the feeling of hustle. I wanted to find freedom. I wanted to know that I had a purpose. I wanted to shift my energy, right? Like, these are the things I knew I wanted to feel, right? So how do you want to feel? Thank you for those. And then, like, what is it going to be like, right? So we talk about vision boarding all the time, right? If you're wanting to move into a different house, go on different vacations, like, go look at that stuff, imagine it in your mind. You create it first in your mind, you create it second in your reality. So get really clear of what are those things that you want to have. Again, when we do this, all you overachievers, I get it. You're like, but I got to know the how. You don't need to know the how yet. All you need to know is, where do you want to go? What's it going to look like? And what's it going to feel like? Okay, so that's the first steps. Create that vivid vision. My favorite quote is that your fear pushes you until your vision pulls you. Okay, so you need to create a vision in your life that's actually going to create pull and create change. Okay, and again, we do this with our clients. So if it seems really challenging, don't worry. We can help you with this, and we can make it. We can bring it down so you can actually make it something you can understand how to create that vision in a way that is going to pull you. Okay, so second step is
where are you currently? So it's being honest with yourself and not coming from a place of judgment, right? Like it's not throwing crap on yourself while you're like looking at kind of where you're currently at, but it's being honest, right? Like it's being, and we've talked about this before, is kind of owning the scenario and understanding that you're in the scenario you are because you've created it by the decisions you make, right? But it's also understanding by taking on that ownership, you also hold the power to also create yourself to move in the direction you just decided that you want to go in, right? And so all these things is being honest. It comes from a place, awareness is first and foremost, right? Like if we don't know what you want and we don't know where you're currently at, we don't know the distance and the gap in which we need to fill in between to get to that destination. So we need to first know what is it that you want, where are you currently at? And I would say probably the other part of that is why is it so vital for you to get that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
why do you need this change right now?
It's not the how, right? Like we get so wrapped up in all these magical unicorn devices and powers and everything else. That can always change. But if you know the destination you're trying to get to, right? Like if I'm trying to get to Mexico, but all of a sudden I set my destination and there's construction or the road changes or whatever, and I need to change my map or change the route in which I'm getting there, I know that I'm still needing to head south in some fashion, right? I can always change the road that I'm going on so long as I know where the destination essentially is that I want to arrive on. But it's also vital as to why it's so important to me. So that way when I do come up on obstacles, because I don't care what it is, they're inevitable, right? That's very important for that we try to get across to all our clients is no matter what the destination you're trying to arrive on, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be friction, there's going to be restriction along the way. And that is where growth is required for you to get onto the other side of that. But if you encounter those and you don't understand the why and it's vital and why it's so vital for you, when you come across those roadblocks or come across those obstacles, you're going to end up having to have self-doubt. You're going to have all the other things that tend to come up in the back of our mind of, well, maybe this isn't meant for me. Maybe this isn't right. Whatever it may be, of the old stories that start to come back up and surface, you're going to tuck tail and go the other direction. So it's being realistic, or not I wouldn't say realistic. I think realistic is the wrong word, but I think it's being honest and it's being true to what it is that you want and where you're currently at.
So, I think you kind of just covered 2 and 3 at the same time. So I just want to elaborate on step number 3. So step 1 is where do you want to go? Step 2 is where are you currently at? Accept it and just own it, right? There doesn't have to be good, bad, otherwise it's just where you are and that's fine, right? Like acceptance doesn't mean complacency. We come across this all the time with our achievers and the high level people we work with, and you guys watching this, I know all of you that are watching right now that I can see your names, and I know you're all high achievers. And you're like, but if I say this is where I am, that means that I'm going to be complacent, and that means I'm not going to take steps forward. That is not true. You just need to know where you're actually at so that you can decide what does math actually look like, okay? But then Brayden talked about roadblocks and obstacles. So here's the thing, the most important thing, no, you're fine. And they all make sense, right? It's just a logical progression. So the biggest thing is understanding what have the roadblocks been in the past, right? Because most of us, life does this thing where like, I want that. And it's like, bam. And it's like, oh, I want that. It's like, bam. And we do the same thing, right? For me, I used to think it was self-sabotage. I was like, oh, when I start to do things, then I self-sabotage. Well, it really wasn't self-sabotage. There's something deeper than that. But go look at what has happened in the past when you start to make forward progress and you start to take action and move towards your goals. What are the roadblocks that show up, right? Is it time? Is it money? Is it energy? Is it life? Like what do you feel like has happened in the past that have been roadblocks that have kept you from going where you wanted to go? Write those down, get clear on them. You don't need to have a visceral response. Just look at them and you're gonna see patterns and you're gonna be like, every time this happens, every time I do this, XYZ happens. And then you need to go, okay, and this is where coaching comes in. We start to ask you deeper questions of like, what was really going on there? And then we start to be like, okay, well, if we can deal with the roadblock before we get to it, then it's never going to take you off course, right? But it's when we pretend like, God, I start on this thing and I start moving towards it, and all of a sudden I just like something happens, right? Like those are synchronicities, right? Like it's life going, you haven't learned the lesson yet. I'm going to keep giving it to you until you learn it.
Well, we just actually talked about patterns before we hopped on. So it's being able to acknowledge and really take a step back and see, right? It's the same thing we talked about before, is getting out of the spin cycle of life and be able to really see, right? Like, yet again, it's owning where you're at, but it's also understanding that you're not a crappy person. You just have crappy patterns, right? You are not your pattern. Yes, you're not necessarily your pattern. It's just the things that we do are habitual, and they tend to show up no matter where they're at, right? Like, if we constantly call it the yo-yo cycle, right? Like, I see progress, and all of a sudden I got to hit the restart button. I see progress, and all of a sudden I hit the restart button. That's a pattern, right? And so that's where the value of what we do and where the coaching comes into it, is because we all have good intentions. Everything we do, I truly believe, comes from the best intention inside of us. But it's when we have certain things that are showing, whether they be protectors or whether they be certain things that we're unaware of.
And there's underlying beliefs that you don't know are playing under the surface that are creating these patterns all the time, right? So you gotta identify. We just had a conversation about us and work and relationships, and it was kind of funny. Anyway, we'll share that with you guys at some point. But like, you've got to know that there's underlying beliefs that are showing up that are creating these patterns. So we just gotta see what they are, see what the patterns are, and then we gotta go a couple levels deeper and go, okay, well, what is that pattern? What is that underlying belief? And once you can shine light on the underlying belief, which I'll just tell you guys right now, for most of you that are go-getters, high achievers, etc., there's a worthiness wound. Somehow, some way, you don't feel like you're worthy. And trust me, I get this. Like, that can be triggering. I was like, I don't have a worthiness wound. Yeah, I totally do. Like 99% of us do, because that's just how life is, right?
Two things typically is the fear of not being loved, the fear of not being worthy. Those are the two things that usually drive fear. Is one of them or both of them together.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll take you through that if you end up working with us. But okay, so roadblocks. Where do you want to go? Where are you? What are the roadblocks? And then what needs to change this time when we start trying to be on that road and take that, use that map to get to where you want to go? What are the things, and who do you have to be? How do you have to show up to make sure that those things don't usually happen?
So I would say, since we're at the halftime show of 2020, what would you like to create in this second half? What is it for you that you would like to see and experience for the remaining months of 2020?
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing we've seen for us was the fastest way to get from A to B was to find a coach that could help us go from A to B that had already been there, right? Like, that's been the biggest thing we've learned probably in the last 4 years, is that find someone who's done what you want to do and has made the shifts that you want to make, and work with them, because they're going to help you along the way, right? Like, you can be the most motivated, driven person, but we all go farther faster when we have accountability and when we have coaching, right? Because again, we coach each other all the time. We just did this 10 minutes before this call of like, we have blind spots, right? And so that, like, this is literally, you guys, why we're doing our shift program, because we talk to people every week, and it's like, we have the similar things, right? And for a lot of people, like, financially, they're just not in a place where they can work with us one-to-one, which is why we're doing our shift group program, because we want to give you guys the opportunity to get all of these things and do all of the stuff that you would do with us one-to-one, but do it in a group setting to where the financial investment is a little bit less. And truthfully, I think the benefit of working with a group is like way exceeds even the money you're going to save by doing a group program, because you get to see that, oh, look, he's got the similar struggles that I have, and this is how he's working through them, and this is what happened. And it's like, it's beautiful to go on this journey with other people, right? So if you feel like you're in a place and you're like, I want to make 2020 the best year that it's going to be, I want to be fulfilled, I want to have freedom, I want to have the energy that I want to have, you want to feel good in your body, you want to feel good in your life, you want to show up as the best version of yourself, then we need to have a conversation. We need to see if the beta program is going to be a good fit for you guys. We've got 14 spots left. And it's not for everybody. So we want to talk to you. We want to see if you're actually going to be a good fit. We want people that are going to give back to the group, provide for the group, so that as a whole, everyone can grow and we can make 2020 the best year that we want it to be, irregardless of all of the things that are happening in the outside world. That doesn't matter, okay? Your life comes from the energy in which you show up. So we're going to help you find that energy, understand what fulfillment feels like, find that freedom that you're looking for, and really just shift into the best year of your life. Good? Mm-hmm. All right, guys. So if that spoke to you, drop us a line. We'd love to chat with you. We can ask you some questions. You can ask us all your questions. But we love and appreciate you guys, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Thanks, y'all.